In The Last of Us, there's an in-universe comic series known as Savage Starlight, a sci-fi superhero series that Ellie absolutely loves. In the first game, Joel can collect 14 Savage Starlight comics, while in The Last of Us Part 2, Ellie can collect 48 trading cards. Despite Savage Starlight being merely an in-game collectible, it actually has some rather interesting lore. And if you're anything like me, you love to read, but paradoxically, you hate to read in video games. Well, don't you fret, because I'm here with my sultry voice to soothe your ear canals with a deep dive into the entirety of the known lore of Savage Starlight. Our first introduction to Savage Starlight comes from Bill's town, where Ellie steals Savage Starlight Book 3 Force Carrier from Bill and is upset about its cliffhanger ending. From there, Joel can find the remaining issues in and around Pittsburgh, the outskirts of Jackson, the UEC campus, the Lakeside Resort, and Salt Lake City. This begins Ellie's fascination with the series as a whole, and at multiple points during The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, she or one of her companions makes reference to her love for the series. It appears that Savage Starlight was rather popular in the Last of Us universe, due to its prevalence of comics, trading cards, movies, and presumably video games. This is all we currently know about the in-universe lore. They, totally understandably, don't really take the time to flesh out how the people viewed this series in the games, but I'd liken the series to a hybrid of Marvel Comics and Star Trek. Let's begin with the story established in the comic series by reading the blurbs on the back of each issue. Book 1, Termination Shock. Dr. Daniela Starr dreams of deep space. In the year of 2186, mankind has conquered the solar system, but the shackles of special relativity prevent them from going any further. At her research facility on Ganymede, Daniela is on the verge of a breakthrough that will allow humanity to finally answer the question, are we alone? Book 2, Messenger Particle. The first test of Daniela's zero-point jump drive started out a success, but contact with the test pilot was immediately lost. 48 standard hours later, he returned, transformed, and he came with a message. We are the travelers, the message began. Book 3, Force Carrier. Reluctant to acknowledge Daniela's findings, the Council was forced to accept the ominous reality. A series of supermassive objects was appearing and then disappearing in the nearby star systems. The objects were making a sweep, one that would hit the Sol system within days. Daniela has been brought on board the Kobayashi, led by Captain James Ryan, to make an up-close analysis of whatever threat emerges. Book 4, Uncertainty. Mankind's trillions have become billions. The Traveler's technology eclipsed the most optimistic projections of human advancement over the next 500 years, and humanity's feeble resistance has all but crumbled. Having barely survived the crash of the Kobayashi, Daniela and Captain Ryan face an impending menace on the surface of Titan. Book 5, Foreign Element. The victory of the Travelers was absolute, and so too were the terms of humanity's surrender. The living flesh of every man, woman, and child left alive was claimed as spoils of war. For how long can Daniela escape their terrible grasp? Book 6, Accretion. Daniela and Captain Ryan have been thrown into the arena, where the hungry eyes of the Traveler watch as they're forced to fight to the death. Will she put aside her feelings for the Captain to fight for her own survival? Book 7, Free Radicals. After the improbable escape from the arena, Daniela and Ryan are now two of the most wanted humans in the solar system. Their newly found infamy has attracted the attention of a mysterious organization called the Last Watch. Following scarce and cryptic clues, the trail of the Last Watch has led them to Saturn's tiny and misshapen seventh moon, Hyperion. Book 8, Negentropy. With Captain Ryan's leadership and Daniela's technological expertise, the raids of the Last Watch have become even more daring. As a scientist, can she bear to use her gifts for destruction? Book 9, Precipitate. The time has come for Daniela's second faster-than-light test flight. This time, the mission is not exploration, but infiltration. This time, Daniela is going too. Their payload, a 20-teraton anti-carbon bomb. Their crew, 8 of the most capable, suicidal, and dangerous men and women of the Last Watch. Their mission, the annihilation of the Traveler's home world. Book 10, Deep Phase. So far, Daniela's phase shift device has kept the Von Neumann and its crew invisible to the Traveler's sensor network. But as each zero-point jump brings them even deeper into the vast interstellar empire, hope for their return journey dwindles. In 3 days, they have traveled a quarter of the galactic radius, and in 2 more, they will be at the traveler's homeworld, as long as nothing goes wrong. Book 11, Antiparticles. After a navigational error jumps the von Neumann into the corona of a white dwarf star, the damage is extensive and tensions among the crew is high. With the cloaking device destroyed, the ship is forced to hide in a nearby stellar nursery. After Daniela's mistake, the crew won't easily trust her again. But they don't have long to decide what to do. Time, along with oxygen, is running out. Book 12, 0 Point. It's been 15 days since the travelers detected the uncloaked von Neumann. The attack killed most of the crew, and perhaps most importantly, it interrupted the reaction chain in the 0 Point engine. At sublight speed, it would take 6,000 years to reach the traveler's homeworld. They are close, but not close enough. Hope seems to be all but lost for Daniela. Book 13, Catalysts. Faced with the failure of their mission, Daniela and James choose to make the ultimate sacrifice for humanity, flying the ship and the anti-carbon bomb on it straight into a neutron star. The resulting explosion was the single most significant astronomical event since the formation of the galaxy, destroying the Traveler's fleet, their homeworld, and countless other worlds and star systems. But will the sacrifice of 2 of humanity's greatest heroes be enough to break the Traveler's iron grip? Book 14, Singularity. The Travelers have been crippled, for now. Daniela's daring plan and her seemingly miraculous escape back home has made her a galvanizing figurehead to the Last Watch. Captain Ryan's quote-unquote sacrifice has made him a martyr, an illusion Daniela won't dispel. But for how long can she keep what really happened a secret? The trading cards Ellie can find list that there are 5 different factions the characters of Savage Starlight belong to: the New Dogs, Society of Champion, Spark, Future Alliance, and no affiliations. Also, an interesting thing to note, a few of these characters' likenesses were actually based on Naughty Dog employees, such as the Imp, Dr. Uckman, Wachumaro, Das Wart, Randy Styles, and the Nighthawk. Also, another thing to note is that I will probably mispronounce a lot of these names. I'm sorry beforehand, and yeah, just expect that, because Jesus, if you read some of these things, you'd understand. Dr. Daniela Starr. Recruited by Spark Sentry 22 out of Titan's Best Science Academy, a brilliant Daniela Starr was assigned to the Ion Engine Development Team. Under the watchful eye of her colleagues, she came up with plans that exceeded everyone's wildest expectations. But when she learned her superiors planned to use her technology for energy weapons, she scuttled her research and fled to Ganymede. Now under the protection of the Future Alliance, she is on the verge of developing mankind's first faster-than-light vessel. CBB-73. The latest in a long line of synthetic warriors, the CBB-73 was designed to fight battles deemed too dangerous or cruel for humans. But when the Future Alliance captured one on Titan, their scientists used it to test their latest AI ethics technology. Now a trusted ally, CBB is willing to take point on all of the Future Alliance's dangerous missions, always reminding them, I am reliable and expendable. But in times of high tension, CBB struggles not to slip back into his original function as a killing machine. Tesseractor. Appearing one day from out of the blue, no one knows where or when this mysterious transdimensional being came from. Their ability to move in and around 4-dimensional spaces at will has turned the tide in many battles, though using this power leaves them as weak and vulnerable as a newborn. Claiming to have no name, they were bestowed the nickname Tesseractor by the Society of Champions. However, some suspect Tesseractor is keeping their true, undiscovered identity a secret. The Starfire Kids. When 14-year-old twins Imiru and Sora Hoshi found a meteorite in the woods outside Kyoto, touching it imbued them both with the power of astrokinesis, the ability to take starlight and turn it into energy. Taken into custody by the Society of Champions, Tesseractor mentored the kids on how to use their powers safely and wisely, though this overprotective nature eventually drove them away. Now they live on the streets, trying to find meaning and purpose in their powers. Flow. Graduating at the top of her class from the prominent Sci-Tech University, Olga Kesnutisovo Kuznetsova. Olga Kuznetsova was recruited by the Russian government to further their research into dark energy. Fearing the tech would be used for war, her attempt to sabotage their experience resulted in her consciousness fusing with water vapor. Now she's able to channel her soul into any body of water and conjure objects into any form of water as long as there's no moisture in the air. Kinnard Esquire. A brilliant lawyer with the stringent adherence to the rule of law, Kinnard, or Georgie to her friends, is the best-known defense lawyer for heroes who are accused of negligence, excessive force, destruction of property, and reckless endangerment. Her notoriety has brought her a fair share of unwanted attention, but between her black belt in Aikido and having the entirety Society of Champions on speed dial, most are wise enough to let her pursue justice undisturbed. Rockefeller. Real estate and construction magnate Norman Stryker's crowning achievement was the Spark headquarters, both the part visible to the world and the massive subterranean laboratory complex. But when he walked in on a secret experiment, Laurent Foucault tried to dispose of him in a quarry explosion. When the Society of Champions couldn't pull Stryker out of the rocks, Dr. Stern made the rocks a part of Stryker. Now covered head to toe in rock armor, Rockefeller aims to tear the Spark headquarters down brick by brick, and he knows the place better than anyone. Dr. Stem. Losing both of her parents to cancer at a young age, Upal Roy threw herself into her science studies, determined to never let anyone experience the pain and loss she felt as a child. Now known as Dr. Stem, she collaborates with doctors and scientists around the world on life-saving and life-enhancing technologies. She also works with the Society of Champions to shut down Spark's more nefarious schemes with technology of her own. Her tenacity and refusal to accept defeat is both her biggest strength and greatest source of torment. Sergeant Frost. Once an ordinary soldier, Sergeant Edward Frost found himself the unwilling subject of a Spark experiment. Infused with a mix of liquid nitrogen and radioactive material, he was left for dead by the scientists. But the cold put him in a state of suspended animation, allowing him to escape. Now known to the world as Sergeant Frost, he uses his cryogenic powers to aid the Society of Champions and seek justice against Spark. Candelabra. A beacon on the darkest night, this heroine earned her moniker when people first saw fire emitting from her hands and flowing through her hair. Originally from the volcanic Auvergne region of France, she fell into an active lava pool while protecting her little brother from Dr. Uckman's henchmen. Left for dead, she emerged from the pool alive and capable of wielding fire as a weapon, so as long as she doesn't get cold. When not working with the Society of Champions, she spends her days hunting Dr. Uckman, whom she believes is holding her brother captive. Kimamela. After her family lost her house to the greedy developers, young scientist Kimamela Green's public protest fell on deaf ears. Frustrated, she turned her research in animal behavior into a means of political action. Many late nights at the lab culminated into a device that allows her to telepathically communicate with animals. Now a member of the Society of Champions, Kimamela brings her animal allies to places around the world where civil strife and avarice threaten to force people from their homes. And when evildoers don't listen to her, she lets her animals do the talking. The Nighthawk. When a freshly minted Air Force recruit found himself caught in the skirmish between Spark aerobots and the Society of Champions, his quick thinking ended up saving the day. With his arms and legs wounded in battle, Dr. Stem created a set of energy wings for his arms and energy blades for his shoes, allowing him to cover both land and the sky at absurd speeds. Together with his loyal greyhound Izo, the small-town kid known as the Nighthawk scours the world for evildoers, always ready to dive back into action. Shift. At first glance, Gail Price looks and acts like a typical teenager, mood swings and all, but those mood swings power her ability to increase the velocity of matter. When happy, she directs her power outwards, increasing the speed of her allies and throwing her enemies off balance. When sad, she directs this power inward, allowing her to outrun her enemies and making the rest of the world feel sluggish. Though powerful, she is an unpredictable ally, and an easy target for the mind manipulation of Motivator. Star Sign. Once a humble museum curator, Zhang Li was poring over Han Dynasty scrolls when he found himself transformed by the spirits of the great Chinese emperors. Now, depending on the hour of the day, he takes on the elemental powers from each sign from the Chinese zodiac: Pyrokinesis, Pyrokinesis, Aquakinesis, Ferrokinesis, and Arborokinesis. He also takes on both the positive and negative personality traits of each sign, which can be an advantage or a disadvantage depending on the situation. Best hope you catch him at a good time of day. Tanger. A shy, quiet young woman, Tanger discovered her abilities to hypnotize with her singing voice at an early age, but she is only just learning to hone it. Having run away from an abusive home, she is a staunch believer in free will. She knows the cost of losing it and often can't bring herself to take it away from others. As such, she refuses to use her powers except as the last resort. This has made her a difficult teammate for the Society of Champions. But her ace-up-the-sleeve usefulness has paid off on more than one occasion. Size Makala. Makala Ayari first discovered her superpowers when she turned 13. With a stomp of her foot, she could send shockwaves rippling through the ground, knocking enemies off their feet, and, in extreme circumstances, topple buildings. Kicked out of the Society of Champions due to her potential for collateral damage, Size Makala soon became the youngest member of the New Dogs. Dr. Uckman. Once a well-respected researcher, Dr. Uckman's questionable experiments in the realm of pushing human limits saw him ostracized from the scientific community. Even the morally compromised Laurent Foucault of Spark Laboratories found his work dubious. Undeterred, Uckman continued his work in secret, creating super AI to do his bidding and protect his research while he and the New Dogs stage high-tech heists to fund it all. Constantly moving his lab location so no one can find him, he longs for the day when his subjects will be trusted as equals. Das Wort. This tall, laconic presence seems unamassing enough. Bullied and misunderstood early in life due to his inability to speak above the level of a mumble, he was forever changed when ancient cosmic beings bestowed upon him the Word, a mystical phrase which, when spoken or even muttered, will drive anyone in earshot insane. Thankfully, his considerable height often gives him away and allows his potential victims plenty of time to run, or plug their ears. The Imp. An impossibly fiendish, sprite-like creature. Some say she was created by Dr. Uckman's laboratory. Others say she came from a parallel dimension. Whatever the case may be, people always underestimate her capability for mischief until it is too late. She possesses the Shriek, a high-pitched vocal attack capable of incapacitating an entire army. But capturing her is worth the risk of confronting the New Dogs. Her mysterious psychic connection with Dr. Uckman means she is often the only one who knows where he is at any given moment. Bastet. When Dr. Uckman pulled an anonymous teenage girl off the streets of Cairo, he got more than he bargained for. Originally intending to use her for his human genetic enhancement project, things went awry when the imp introduced cat DNA into the mix. Now gifted with the agility, vision, and predatory instincts of a cat, the girl took on the name of the Egyptian cat goddess, Bastet. Clever and mercurial, she acts as one of Uckman's enforcers, using her skills for high-risk heists. But even the brilliant Uckman can't tell where her allegiances truly lie. Wachumaro. Having earned his fortune as the creator of the streetwear line I See a Universe, this disillusioned former entrepreneur retired at age 32, intending to travel the globe and spread the gospel of decommodification. But after being struck twice by lightning on a mountaintop in Peru, he was gifted with the ability to conjure visions with the beat of his psychic drum. With the right rhythm, his visions can alter reality, bringing people's unpredictable dreams to life. Spark Thug. Capable of both absorbing and delivering giant bolts of electricity, this masked enforcer uses his powers for everything from petty theft and racketeering to high-level assassinations for the New Dogs. Once a professional wrestler of some renown, a freak accident after a publicity stunt gone wrong left him with these powerful new abilities and a mind ravaged by constant electrical shocks. His extreme fear of water suggests a potential weakness, though no one has successfully exploited this possibility yet. Laurent Foucault, CEO of Spark. Born with a brilliant mind but hobbled by numerous physical ailments, Laurent Foucault spent his formative years in hospitals. Earning his MD PhD at age 15, he developed a cure for his rare genetic disease, the patents for which made him a multimillionaire overnight. Within a few short years, he turned millions into billions, giving him the capital to build his sci-fi tech empire, Spark, and free rein to pursue knowledge and progress at any cost. Rumors circulate that Spark has developed methods to infuse newborns with specific superpowers, but Foucault has denied these as, quote, ridiculous claims. Motivator. If you find yourself doing something you don't want to do, Motivator might be the one responsible. Once a prominent psychologist and researcher in the field of human behavior, Moira Peake's after-hours experiments for Spark yielded powers she deemed too dangerous for anyone to have. So, she kept them all for herself. Able to plant ideas into anyone's heads, her victim's only hope is to get out of the motivator's line of sight, or smash her glasses so she can't see. Know-it-all. A world-famous researcher diagnosed with an early form of dementia, Sheila Kim reached out to Spark in desperation. Could they do something to slow her mental decline? They agreed to implant an experimental nano-AI drive into her brain, allowing her to not only retain her knowledge, but acquire new information at a massive rate. Now, she is arguably the smartest person alive and Spark's new chief technology officer, overseeing their military research arm. Some argue that she's lost her conscience. Others wonder whether the AI has taken over her mind. Sora. Noted paleontologist and geneticist Zhi Yijing worked in secret with the scientist at Spark, attempting to splice human and dinosaur genes together, using herself as the test subject. She succeeded beyond her wildest expectations. Now, when she feels trapped or endangered, her body transforms into a hybrid dinosaur. The spiked tail of a stegosaurus, the arms of an ankylosaur, and the speed of a velociraptor. A formidable opponent by any measure, the Society of Champions has one reliable strategy: make her feel calm and safe until danger is afoot. Bahat-em-Andar. Once the solar system's most notorious pirate, Neptunian Bahat-em-Andar became known for hijacking resupply ships and threatening the nascent colonies on Europa and Enceladus with starvation. Pursued by the Future Alliance into the asteroid belt, she flew her ship too close to a mysterious wormhole and found herself back in the 21st century. Though she initially enjoyed her newfound superiority, she quickly became frustrated by the limitations of our 21st century technology and sought out Spark. Her offer? Her knowledge of the future in exchange for a way back to her own time. Kazaki Bright. Orphaned by the Civil War on Titan, young Kazaki Bright vowed revenge on the Future Alliance, whom he held responsible for initiating the conflict. Growing up to become a renowned communications engineer for Spark Century 22, he developed quantum signaling technology that allowed for instant communication across vast distances. Though it gave Spark an advantage, they still suffered defeat after defeat against the Future Alliance. Boosting his quantum communicator to reach far beyond our star system, Kazaki now tries to contact someone or something capable of helping him seek his revenge. The Keen Twins. Born in a Spark laboratory, the Keen twins were considered a failed experiment in heightening human senses. They were abandoned on the doorstep of an orphanage, but the forlorn pair soon learned of their abilities. Born deaf, Ophelia not only has amazing eyesight, but can see things on the infrared and X-ray spectrum. Born blind, Xander can hear for miles. No footstep is too quiet, and no secret is safe. So long as they're together, they make for formidable opponents. Chessmaster. After a run-in with the multi-dimensional hero Tesseractor, criminal mastermind Caleb Sophos suddenly could see every possible outcome of his decision before he even made one. Naming himself Chessmaster for his newfound ability to, quote, see dozens of moves ahead, this power came with a cost. Though he made a fortune helping other criminals plan their heists, seeing all possible outcomes crippled him with indecision. Unable to utilize his power to enrich himself, he is forced to rely on others to make choices for him. Oozer. After pulling one too many all-nighters, the sleep-deprived research scientist fell into a vat of unknown organic material. When the tank was drained, what emerged was a slimy, amorphous blob capable of absorbing almost any kind of organic matter. Enraged by his horrible fate, he carved a gooey trail of destruction across the city, earning him the moniker Oozer. Susceptible to extremes of heat and cold, he is pursued by Sergeant Frost and Candelabra, all the while seeking a way to return to his original form. Big Blue. Big Blue is an extra-dimensional entity who has taken on the appearance of a blue whale. First arriving on Earth over 1 billion years ago to keep watch over the nascent life forms, they use their infinite well of knowledge to help guide the human race in times of great need and upheaval. Their unfathomable age has one major drawback. Days appear to pass as microseconds. However, this time-dilated effect is offset if they hold their breath, which they can do for several years at a time. Cardio. Pedro Rojas was a long-distance runner who dreamed of winning, but always came up short. When Spark offered him limitless stamina in exchange for using him as a test subject for the new Velocitanium artificial hearts, he immediately accepted the deal, and then escaped, going into hiding. Now known as Cardio, he can run faster and farther than anyone alive. Pursued by Spark, they still want him back to finish their experiments. They'll just have to catch him first. Bazarabra. Young Bahar Reza once had a promising career in science, but her stint as Dr. Uckman's assistant ended in catastrophe. During one of Uckman's unauthorized experiments, she was doused with an early dangerous form of his strength-giving formula, causing all of her muscles, even the ones in her face, to become impossibly swole. Ridiculously strong and a danger to everyone around her, she was shunned by society. On her own for years, seeking revenge, she recently found a friend and ally in the aged and frail Naledi the Youthful, providing that opposites attract. Mortem. 16-year-old Mort Marquez lay in a coma for 10 days after a horrible car accident, remembering nothing, save for visions of a cloaked skeleton giving him a scythe. Upon waking, he learns of his ability to make any living thing he touches wither and die when he inevitably kills the family cat. Both the Society of Champions and Spark seek him out, the former hoping to keep him away from the general public, and the latter to use him for bioweapon research. Mortem is on a path to find answers. Why was he cursed with these morbid powers? Beyond. After a near-death experience left her in a coma for 2 weeks, this seasoned detective found that she could cross from our world to the spirit world, allowing her to communicate with the dead. Now known as Beyond, she splits her time between solving murder investigations and serving as a spiritual medium for grieving families seeking closure. However, her forays into the spirit world are clearly hastening her demise. She looks considerably older than 35. How much longer does she have? Sahir the Sorcerer. A decorated war hero, Sahir was a Kawadi combat medic known for his courage under fire and selfless attitude. After saving a mysterious old man from an airstrike, they gifted Sahir a small gold talisman. Much to his surprise, the talisman granted Sahir the ability to manipulate sand. Now, Sahir uses his newfound power to shield his allies, creating a temporary yet impregnable fortress out of sand. And when he teams up with Candelabra, deadly shards of glass. Naledi the Youthful. Though she wears baggy robes to cover her numerous burn marks, don't let Naledi's frail, gray-haired appearance fool you. After refusing to die alongside her family in an arson attack, her cries for revenge allowed a dark spirit to inhabit her being, bringing a curse disguised as a blessing. When touching another living being, neither can be physically harmed or killed. Infinitely vulnerable so as long as she is alone, she has teamed up with the mighty Bazarabra, whose strength allows her to carry Naledi into battle with those who've wronged her. A near invulnerable team-up. Brainstorm. A tech billionaire with the taste for adrenaline, Brainstorm likes nothing better than to rush into danger and save the day, using inventions of his own creation. But there's a catch. He doesn't make a move until you decide how he should proceed. Through his crowdsourced heroism app, Justify, who will be his next enemy? The choice is in your hands. Reverb. Reverb got into many fights as a kid, quickly learning she could throw a punch as well as she could take one. Quite literally. Exposed to experimental nanobots on her dad's secret army base, Reverb can take any incoming physical damage and return it in kind, whether it's a finger flick or getting hit by a car. Once part of the Society of Champions, Reverb hasn't been seen in ages. Some say she went into hiding to heal. Others say she's bitter at the trauma she's been obligated to absorb for the sake of others. The Austringer. At 14 years old, Maxence Pierre was abandoned by her parents in the middle of the Montagne Noire. With the help of a benevolent, intelligent hawk, he made his way to a small lodge, where he met a mysterious shaman. Through rigorous training, Max mastered the ability to enter the minds of hawks, raptors, and other birds of prey. As the Austringer, Max serves as a thief for hire and intelligence gatherer for the highest bidder, all the while striving to discover why he was abandoned in the mountains all those years ago. Randy Styles. Once he was Dr. Uckman's research partner, working late nights to develop all manner of technology for the betterment of mankind, until one day he just vanished. Months later, reports surfaced of Styles showing up in numerous places all over the world. A brief appearance in Mexico, a short stint in Japan, a materialization in the Australian outback. With each visitation, he helps people in need and vanishes again. Some speculate Styles obtained this ability through an accident with Dr. Uckman's experimental quantum teleporter, though he vehemently denies those claims. Arch enemy. A former army sharpshooter and seasoned bow hunter, this vigilante's path was forged when his family was caught in the crossfire between the New Dogs and the Society of Champions. Destroyed by grief, he turned to the most dangerous game. Not human, but superhuman. Donning high-tech camouflage and claiming the moniker arch-enemy, he's menaced both sides of the war with his hunter's instinct, compound bow, and arsenal of high-tech traps. Doppelganger. A strange being of unknown origins, this alabaster-skinned humanoid with yellow eyes is capable of assuming the shape of anyone you need him or her to be. The only catch, they need to make physical contact with the person you wish them to impersonate. The resemblance is near perfect, though if you look closely, you'll see their eyes have a glint of yellow after the transformation. So, if you've ever seen a friend wearing sunglasses at an inappropriate time, you'd best be on your guard. Esquire. After losing his 10th murder trial, this former prosecutor decided he had enough with the criminal justice system. That night, he donned a costume and dispatched the defendant, who, hours later, walked free. Now as Esquire, for any defendant that escapes justice, he exacts revenge equivalent to the crime. Reviled in the press and public as a lawless vigilante, but quietly praised by victims of the accused, he continues pursuing his visions of justice in the shadows. Tormentra. Once a kind, empathetic teenager, Tormentra was always bullied for being soft. But everything changed when a latent genetic mutation emerged, allowing her to convert the mental anguish of others into kinetic energy. The worse the pain, the more powerful the results. Now, her day job as a criminal psychologist allows her to absorb the worst things in people's lives and use it as literal ammo against those who persecuted her. Many suspect Tormentra of feeding off the hurt of those who got in the way of her previous outbursts, creating a never-ending cycle of suffering. Tatuaje. Teenager Salvador Ramos was bullied mercilessly by his peers, culminating in a prank where they lured him to an ancient Mayan tomb and closed him inside. Alone and scared, Sal stumbled upon a mysterious glyph depicting the Mayan deity Acat. Upon touching it, his snake tattoo came to life and guided him home. Now known as Tatuaje, his body is covered with tattoos of weapons, animals, everything he needs to seek vengeance against those who wronged him. But Acat demands a new tattoo every lunar cycle upon pain of death, and Tatuaje is running out of space. Cephalopod. Long thought to be a myth passed down through superstitious sailors, this extra-dimensional deity has taken on the form of a gargantuan bioluminescent squid. Hiding from others of his kind, this hyper-intelligent being has taken a liking to our seas and the diverse life forms living within them. Unfortunately, Cephalopod has a temper to match his smarts, conducting acts of tentacle-based terrorism against fishing vessels, oil tankers, and other seacraft, which it believes are part of the cycle of harm against the world's oceans. Our only hope might be Big Blue. And there you have it. That's all we know about Savage Starlight. Superheroes battle it out in the 21st century while space opera hijinks occur in the future. It's surprisingly more in-depth than I imagined before starting research for this video. I would absolutely love actual comics based on the Savage Starlight universe, present day and future alike. But I'd imagine we have to wait for The Last of Us Part 3 before we have any further continuation of this story. But until then, I hope you enjoyed the story of Savage Starlight, and if you did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. If you have any suggestions for obscure lore deep dives you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. Anyway guys, take care.